Hello, Kris here, Green Sabre, episode 14 of Doom Telly. And this week's episode, it's probably a video that's been done before. I'm new to this YouTube community thing, so my apologies if this video's already been fucking done. But I'm doing it again. I'm going to make up for lost time. This video will be titled, My Top 10 Great Albums, but with a Fatal Flaw. Now, fatal's probably a bit of a severe word for these, because they're still great albums, let's not forget that point. But there is something about these top 10 albums that are just, I don't know, just something that spoils the experience of them. Now, what I've tried to do is not have the same reason. So I've not listed 10 albums with a shite cover version on it, although I comfortably could, quite honestly. I've not listed 10 albums with bad cover art. I've not listed 10 albums with some other fucking reason. Anyway, I've tried to give a fairly different... I feel like there's two that are kind of the same reason, but I'm going to word them slightly differently. But anyway, that's going to be the topic of today's video. So, my new subscribers, thanks ever so much. The subscriber list keeps going upwards and upwards. It's fucking ace. I'm loving it. So, I'm going to send this challenge out. I mean, the Rock Scout that did the metal tag, and this is sort of where I've been inspired to do this. The Metal Tag 2023, which I love doing, so thanks for watching that video as well. The last question on this year's Metal Tag was name an album with a song that spoils the flow or that kind of doesn't belong on that record. And it was that question in particular that I had so many answers for. And I plumped for a fucking rant about Megadeth, as it turned out. A justified rant. And one of the top 10 here will be another rant, so you Mustaine lovers out there, brace yourselves, because I'm going to be having a fucking pop at him again. But anyway, so yeah, I was inspired by that video, and it got me to thinking. So yeah, I decided to go for top 10 metal albums with a fatal flaw. We'll get to that imminently. Just a very quick Green Sabre update. We finally rehearsed again last night. It was our first rehearsal of 2023. Brian's thumb and wrist is virtually back on mend. He was still, you could see he was still a bit of wincing going on there, but we're virtually back. So we've decided the set that we're going to do for this gig in February at the Bobbin in Lancaster, and we went through that, and also went through a new one as well, because once we've got this gig out of the way, unless we get some other solid gig offers, we're going to start concentrating on getting the songs together to go into the studio for the new album. So stay posted. But that's the update. So, fanfare. Top 10 metal albums with a fatal flaw. Okay, right. The first one, because, as I've just explained, I was trying to look for slightly differing reasons for this album's flaw. So the first one I've gone for is, let me take it out of there, it's a very dark cover, but it's Strapping Young Lads, Alien. Devin Townsend masterpiece. I love all Strapping Young Lads records. This and City are clearly the best, I would say. This one might be my favourite. But its fatal flaw is the last track, Info Dump, which is 12 minutes of absolute fucking nonsense, quite honestly. Now, I've said that this album's fatal flaw is an artistic choice. So, not a song, even though it is a song, because there's another one coming up where a song ruins it. But, yeah, it's 10 minutes of sort of industrial fucking noise, and it doesn't say, you've got an album full of absolute fucking bangers there, until you get to that last 12 minutes that is a pointless waste of fucking everyone's time. And it spoils the experience. I don't see any point in it being on there. You end up finishing the album, a song early. And it's such a good album. It's like, you're not telling me that he didn't have one other track that he could have put on besides that. I'm sure there was probably some artistic reasoning at the time, but it just felt a bit arty for me and totally pointless. I'm not against noise albums. I'm a huge fan of Mike Patton's side project called Fantomas. I love all their stuff. One of which, I think it was the second album, Delirium Cordia, which is an hour and fucking 5 minutes of pretty much just noise with a few little bits of musical stuff interjected in between whilst it's one solid song, it doesn't stop. And yeah, so I like Sun as well. Drone noise, if you will. There's a time and a place for that, absolutely. And I'm sure there's a time and a place for that with Devon Townsend. I just feel that spoils that album's experience. Like I say, it's fucking however many songs before that of absolute fucking bangers, and then just sort of dies off at the end unnecessarily. So yeah, that's my number 10, Strapping Young Lads, Alien. Number 9, and brace yourselves, but Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Now, it's not a song, because every song on here is an absolute fucking beast. This is one of the greatest fucking metal albums of all time, without question. Its fatal flaw for me is this fucking shambles on the album cover. I mean, what the fuck is that? I mean, it's right up there with possibly some of the worst metal album art of all time. The other one that I nearly picked, because yeah, this is number 9, album art that spoils the experience, the fatal flaw. I nearly picked Baphomet's debut album with those kind of really crudely done monsters on What's a Fucking Fabulous Death Metal Record, but I didn't pick that, so let's not talk about it. I picked this. I mean, what it looks like the fella from Rent-A-Ghost lost his fucking motorbike in the woods and dropped a tab of acid to fucking deal with it. The songs are so good. I just feel that the album cover is, I mean, it's comically fucking bad, and that's maybe part of the appeal of it in some respects, but I mean, it's a dog shit cover personally, and it does detract I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 album anyway, but it would be 11 out of 10 if it had great artwork. So yeah, that's coming in at my number 9, Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Okay, number 8, and again, this might distress some of you. I'm going to take them out of the sleeves because there's a bit of glare. Morbid Angels, Blessed Are the Sick album. I love this record, but I feel it's got a fatal flaw, and I know Gaz in the band feels the same way about it. There's a school of thought that Altars of Madness is fantastic, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, great debut. But the next great Morbid Angel album is Covenant, the one that followed this. Because my reasoning with that is it's a more cohesive experience. Side A of Blessed Are the Sick is fucking fabulous. It's side B that I've got issues with. So coming in at number 8, Morbid Angels, Blessed Are the Sick. And the reason, the B-side. It's disjointed and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it feels to me almost like that they were possibly pushed into the studio by the record company. Because it doesn't feel that they had a full album finished. That might well be the case. I don't know. I've not read up on it properly. So I'm assuming that I might be just fucking telling you all what is the case anyway. But I just feel the B-side just tails off spectacularly. There's some cracking tracks on it, like Thy Kingdom Come, Unholy Blasphemies. And then it just kind of comes to an abrupt stop, where you then get reworked, and they're not better, reworked versions of a couple of tracks off the Abominations EP. I mean, to be fair, Chapel of Ghouls on Altars is another reworking and off of the Abominations EP. But that's better. I don't think these are better. I think the Abominations versions of Abominations, and what's the other one? Is it the Ancient ones? Are better. Besides them, you've got a couple of bits of filler, like some fairly kind of cheesy piano-y, eerie thing. And I find it completely loses its way on the B-side. So that's why it's coming in at my number 8. Its flaw is a lack of cohesion and clearly not enough songs to have gone into the studio with. So the B-side kind of spoils that one for me. However, caveat, and I must fucking reiterate this, these are all still stunning albums for me. Greats, classics. Okay, number 7. Let's get the fucking Mustaine hatred out of the way. Now, on the last one, on the Metal Tag 2023 video that I did, I went to town on So Far So Good So What, and the appalling cover of the Sex Pistols classic, Anarchy in the UK, on there. And I did mention this one. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, I could have easily brought up So Far So Good So What again, but I'm bringing this one up because I think this is a worse cover song. The Anarchy in the UK cover on So Far So Good is almost tolerable. The cover of I Ain't Superstitious on this record, and I appreciate this made a lot of people's answer to that question in the Metal Tag one. The cover of I Ain't Superstitious is just fucking shite. And it's like a bluesy rock cover that has no place on this record. It completely spoils the thread of it. So yeah, number 7, I Ain't Superstitious, the cover. So number 7 is a cover version that fucking is the album's fatal flaw. And very much I Ain't Superstitious on this. Like I said in the last video, I don't know why Megadeth had this thing about putting fucking terrible cover versions on albums. But they did, and that one really ruins the flow of that record, because besides that, every track is brilliant. But, yeah, so anyway. And again, you're not telling me that they didn't have something else that didn't quite make the cut of that record that would have been a better choice of song than that. But anyway, they clearly had their reasons. Okay, coming in at number 6, and I will finally remember to sort of give you the reason this one. Coming in at number 6 is a song, one of their own, a band's own compositions, that is the fatal flaw on the record. And I'm choosing this one from Sacred Reich, The American Way. A great album, fantastic record. But there is one song on it. Now, any of you that know this album, I think I know what I'm going to say. There is one song on this record which is so terribly, fist-eatingly fucking bad that it really genuinely does ruin the experience for me. I cannot listen to it. I have to skip it whenever I play this record. And it is thankfully it's the end track, so I can just finish the album early. It's the track called 31 Flavors. And it is a prime example of dating a record. Don't let what's fucking happening at the time influence your creative sensibilities. And they did that here. 31 Flavors is a fucking horrendous example of white rap done terribly. It's like your fucking geography teacher deciding to do a rap at the end of class. It's that bad. I don't know, your geography teacher might be cool. Scrub that. If they are, my apologies. This is not cool. It's not cool, kids. 31 Flavors. It's terrible white rap. It's got fucking horn sections in it. That awful jangly fucking funk guitar that was... It's a child of its time. That was the point I'm trying to make. Its fall down being that track is because of the era that it was in. Mordred were big at the time. Now, Mordred nearly made, but I chose on another production aesthetic to go in my top 10. But Mordred nearly made the top 10 with In This Life, which is an album that I love. But the guitar sound on there and the production is so fucking dreadful that it does spoil the experience on that album, particularly when you compare it to Fool's Game, the debut. But anyway, Mordred were a band that did that funk thrash thing really, really well. And they didn't corner the market on it as such, but the funk thrash thing was something that became popular. And for me, there's only Mordred that I remember, and possibly Suicidal Tendencies to a degree at times, that did it any good. 31 Flavors is a fucking awful example of that. And another terrible example, which I don't have in the collection, is that fucking album that Reanimator did, that went down the funk metal route. It was bad. It was dated. It sounds dreadful now. It's not fucking aged well. Funk metal was terrible. There's a school of thought that one of my favourite bands ever, Faith No More, started it. I don't think they did. They never sounded like that funk thrash thing. There's funk to the bass of what they did, but that was never anything new. They always sort of sounded like that. So yeah, my number 6, Sacred Reich, 31 Flavors. Oh, I'm sure they must be embarrassed by that if they listen back to it. If they're not, I'm very sorry. Maybe I've misunderstood a cult classic there amongst you all. But anyway, now number 6 coming in is what did I say that this is a reason for? An unfortunate, number 6, The Fatal Flaw, is an unfortunate band choice. So this is a bit of a tenuous link. Now, before you think, what? It's not this album. This is Obituary's classic, and personally, my favourite of record of theirs, By a Country Mile. There's only Slowly We Rot that comes close, and this next one that I'm going to mention that comes close. And the album is, and I don't have it in my collection. I used to have it, I sadly don't. And it's one of them now where I could probably get a reissue, but I'm not terribly desperate for it yet. But if I do, it is, insert image, The End Complete. Now, I need to qualify this, because like this album, The Incomplete is full of absolutely fucking stunning tracks. You could argue that some of the songs on it are actually stronger than some of the songs on Cause of Death. Now, the reason that I'm going to explain is why I think that The Incomplete, the album, I don't know if it's still showing or I might reinsert it again. Its fatal flaw is that it doesn't have this chap on it. James Murphy, one of the greatest death metal soloists ever. And again, I won't be told otherwise. I adore James Murphy's solos. My favourite, and this is for another time, but my favourite death record, which again might shock you, is Spiritual Healing. Because I think it rides that cusp of them going a bit more technical and still having the death metal sensibilities. So I think the songs are great on it. But I also adore James Murphy's solos on that record, and I adore them on this. And I think it makes Obituary, and again, this is probably sacrilege, Obituary for me are a band that sound quite ordinary compared to other death metal classics. James Murphy, and again, personally, I can't stress that enough. James Murphy brought this album to life, and this is why it's my favourite, comfortably. His solos gave them just an edge that I don't think they've ever had, ever again, personally. And that's why I've chose The Incomplete as an unfortunate band choice, because I can't remember the reasons exactly why James Murphy ended up not in Obituary anymore. It didn't seem to last in bands very long at all anyway, so it's probably a running theme. But I just feel that they were on an absolute hiding to nothing with The Incomplete, because they were never going to... If James Murphy was soloing on The Incomplete, I'm fairly confident that that would be Obituary's best record for me, personally, because I think the songs are that good. You've got I'm in Pain, you've got Rotting Ways, the last one, you've got the title track. There's loads of great songs on that record. I just think its fatal flaw is that it doesn't have James Murphy on it. And that, is why it came in at my number 5. Coming in at my number 4, and again, I still feel bad, more Chuck hatred. Which is Chuck Schuldine is a god and always will be and should not ever be thought of otherwise. Now, I mentioned this on the Metal Tag 2023 video because of its version of Painkiller, Judas Priest Painkiller, which is an awful cover version. I'm picking this with a fatal flaw for a different reason. And its reason is Chuck Schuldiner's vocal style on it. So, yeah, number 4, Death. Chuck Schuldiner's vocal style is the reason why it's made my fatal flaws. I think this is a great album. It is Death's weakest one, let's be honest, because to cut a long story short, I think he was losing his love for this kind of music at the time as Chuck Schuldiner. He was wanting to do his Control Denied stuff. That seemed to be where his passion was at the time, really. He seemed to be more, like I say, he seemed to have lost his love for extreme metal. And he was trying to sort of experiment more. And if I'm right in thinking, this was a Control Denied album that the record company decided, we want another Death one. So he had to quickly rework it for Death as opposed to Control Denied. Chuck Schuldiner his vocals are slightly different on every Death record, personally. It's what he does with them here. It's that really high-end, raspy shriek that I just don't like. I can't warm to it. If he sang like he did on Symbolic or Human or, well, any of the others, quite honestly, if it sang like he did on that, this album would be great, and I'd really struggle to, whereas the vocals on this make it a very easy one to put in at 7th for me of the Death records. 7th? Yeah, anyway. Last, is what I mean. And it's still a great record, but I really dislike his vocal style on this. Now, I was worried about sort of saying that because I was thinking, shit, it wasn't because of the brain tumour that he had and stuff like that, was it? No, that wasn't the reason. So I didn't want to say his vocals are shit because he was like fucking terminally ill. Because that would be awful. No, it was, I believe it was clearly a conscious choice that he wanted to change his vocal style on this one. And I just don't like it. So that's why it's my number 4 of metal albums with fatal flaws. Right, we're getting to the nitty gritty now. This one's very much a personal choice. And Gaz in the band wouldn't agree with me, and no doubt a lot of you out there won't agree with me. Now again, it's not this one because I don't have it in the collection, but this is Cathedral's Static Magic EP, and personally, the last great thing that Cathedral released for me. And because number 3, a personnel choice. Now, if you watch the documentaries, it wasn't Cathedral's choice. I think Adam decided to knock it on the head. But I adore the Cathedral Adam Leon lineup. I think that's comfortably their best stuff. Forest of Equilibrium, the In Memoriam EP, Soul Sacrifice EP, Ethereal Mirror album, the Static Magic EP. My choice at number 3 is Cathedral's Carnival Bazaar album, Image. That I just cannot... It's a good album, but I can't want to like I can with the other ones, because it feels like it's missing a vital part of Cathedral's sound that I loved. And it's that kind of creepy etherealness, for, you know, no pun intended, that I feel Adam brought to the band. Some of the songs that he wrote on Forest are my favourites on that album. And like I say, it's no slight on Cathedral, because they're still a great band. But yeah, Carnival Bazaar, it's a massive step down for me personally, because they've gone from, and I still think that's the last thing that they did with Adam, and this EP is fucking ace. I love the really long track, the Voyage of the Homeless Sapien, like 23 minutes or whatever it is. It's fucking ace, that EP. And then Carnival Bazaar just becomes all the kind of bits that I sort of skipped with Cathedral. Like, I love Ethereal Mirror, I think it's a great record, but the track Midnight Mountain is the one that if I'm going to skip one, it'll likely be that. Carnival Bazaar became like an album full of Midnight Mountains, in a sense, and it was that I just have an issue with. So again, it's purely a personal choice, like are all of these. But I can't warm to it. It's still a great album though, but that's my number 3. Cathedral's The Carnival Bazaar. Number 2, and it's Justice for All Metallica. You all know the reason. It's the production on it. It's like, if we'd have had a fuller, rounder sound with the bass properly mixed in, this would have been great. I've seen videos on YouTube where people are like, remixed the Jason mix or whatever it is and all that. And they're shit too, because all they do is just put the bass too fucking high on them. It just needed to be rounded properly. I like it from a guitarist perspective because I love that really raspy, crunchy guitar sound that they get. It's Lars's drums that I have a bit of a problem. They're so clicky and everything's so high end that I love this record, because this is the Metallica album that was the current one when I got into them back in my youth. So it was this that they were doing. There are a lot of Metallica albums that's fatal flaw is that they're absolute dog shit. Like Lulu, like St. Anger. Load and Reload for me are an EP's worth. There's about 6 good songs across the entirety of both of them. They should have just done a Load EP and fucked off the rest of them, personally. So Metallica have done a lot of bad albums. This isn't a bad album. This is a majestic album with a fatal flaw. The production. Yeah, everyone knows about it. Everyone's talked about it. Everyone's had their 10 penneth on it. But it does spoil the experience. You just think, God, pardon me, if this had had a more rounded experience. Yeah. Okay, number 1. You're all thinking, what's going to be number 1? I'll show you what's going to be number 1. This. And it's funny because I've just had a conversation with Stuart from Roots of the Old Oak about this album on Facebook. Entomb's Clandestine. It's the embossed version. I don't know if you can see the little embossment. But anyway, Entomb's Clandestine. This is an absolutely stellar album. And arguably Entomb's best record. Certainly song-wise. The songs are better on Clandestine than they are on Left Hand Path. Again, personal opinion. But I genuinely believe that. There's better songs on here. You've got Crawl, you've got Living Dead. Countless others. What else have we got? Fucking Chaos Breed. What's the other one that I really like? Oh, Stranger Eons, of course. there is some absolutely fucking stellar songs on here. Its fatal flaw, and I think you all know where I'm going with this, is the vocals. Now, a bit of brief explainer to do. Get back in the cover of your shite. Nicky Anderson, of Helicopters fame now. Nicky Anderson does the vocals on this record. But it's credited to, was he called Johnny Jodovich or whatever it was? It's credited to the vocalist that they had fleetingly, the guy that replaced Lasgo and Petrov. And if I was Johnny, I would be fucking fuming that I got credited for the vocals on that record. A lot of people don't really have too much trouble with it. I do. I really dislike Nicky Anderson's vocals, his style on that album. Living Dead starts, rips in straight away, and comes in with a fucking great big long scream. Then it goes into the verse section, and Nicky's main vocal things come, and it reminds me, I always describe, me and my brother used to describe it as like pirate death metal, because there's lots of R's and R, it all just goes a bit fucking Jolly Roger. I can't get past that. I believe that Johnny, the guy that actually was a vocalist, I believe that he was really good, but we don't hear him on this record. I can't remember whether that's because he came in late and they'd already pretty much recorded it at that point. But whatever the reasons were, I think that from all the others that I've said, this is the one that has the biggest flaw for me. That vocal style is just... If Lasgo and Petrov had been singing on this record, it would be this that people talk about and not Left Hand Path. I am absolutely convinced of that. Because like I said, the songs are better on this. But them vocals really ruin it for me. Ruin's probably a strong word, because like I say, these are still great albums with a fatal flaw. But yeah, that vocal attack is just really bad, and I don't like it. It's one of them, I can listen to it and get into the album, but there's always that in the back of my mind that I don't like how he sings. Nicky Anderson, that is. So that's it. Those were my top 10 metal albums with a fatal flaw. Feel free to have a go yourselves. You can use it. It can be the hashtag top 10 metal albums with a fatal flaw. I'm sure it's already been done though, so apologies if it has. There's loads of stuff that I'm going to start doing that will no doubt already have been done, but I'm late to this, so I'm going to fucking do them anyway, so you'll just have to make do. Yeah. Okay, I'll be back in a week. Should have rehearsed again at that point. So, yeah. Again, these are kind of fairly organic experiences. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do in the next video, but you'll just have to wait and see. But until that time, stay tuned, and I will see you all again soon. Ta-da.